Herkese merhaba. İYTE Optik ve Fotonik Topluluğu olarak Uluslararası Işık Günü için düzenlediğimiz konferansa hepiniz hoş geldiniz. Bu vesileyle Optik ve Fotonik Topluluğu adına hepinizin Uluslararası Işık Günü'nü kutluyorum. Şimdi size programı sunarak başlamak istiyorum. Program, İYTE Basın ve Halkla İlişkiler Koordinatörlüğü ekibi tarafından derlenen, okulumuzda fotonik bilimi ve mühendisliği ile ilgilenen öğretim elemanlarının bazılarından ve rektörümüzden gelen kutlama mesajlarını içeren video sunuşuyla başlayacaktır. Daha sonra değerli rektörümüz Profesör Doktor Yusuf Baran'ın yapacağı açılış konuşmasıyla programımıza başlayacağız. Etkinliğimize sırasıyla Gazi Fotonik Bölüm Başkanlığı'nı ve Fotonik Uygulama ve Araştırma Merkezi Müdürü olan Profesör Doktor Süleyman ÖZÇELİK Hayatımızdaki Işık başlıklı sunumuyla bizlerle birlikte olacak. Sunum ardından 20 dakikalık kısa bir ara vereceğiz. Aranın ardından Light Day ve Trust Science.org tarafından bilimin ve ışığın bizler için önemini vurgulamak adına hazırlanan videonun Türkçe altyazılı sunuşunu gerçekleştireceğiz. Video sunuşu sonrası Quantum Resources and Careers CEO ve kurucusu olan Dr. Araceli VENEGAS-GOMEZ, Follow the Light, Join the Quantum Revolution başlıklı sunumuyla bizlerle birlikte olacak. Sunum sonrasında etkinliğimiz sona erecektir. Şimdi İYTE Basın ve Halkla İlişkiler Koordinatörlüğü ekibi tarafından hazırlanan, okulumuzda fotonik bilim ve mühendisliği ile ilgilenen öğretim elemanlarımızdan bazılarından ve rektörümüzden gelen kutlama mesajlarını içeren video sunuşunu izleyerek başlıyoruz.
Dünyanın varoluşuyla birlikte insanoğlunun asırlar boyunca gizemini çözmeye çalıştığı ışık,
tarihin en büyük keşiflerinden biri olan ateşten bile önce
hayatımızın her alanında her zaman bizlerle iç içe oldu.
Bilim, sanat, kültür, sağlık, eğitim alanlarında
Işık ve teknolojileri sayesinde her zaman daha da ileri adım atacaklardır.
Evimizdeki teknolojilerde, kilometrelerce uzağımızda ve yeryüzünün derinliklerinde,
hatta uzaya kadar her yerde ışığın izini görebiliriz.
İbn Heysen, Faraday, Max Planck, Isaac Newton,
Wilhelm, Niels Bohr, Albert Einstein ve daha niceleri.
Dünya Işık Günü'nün temellerini oluşturan ve yolumuzu aydınlatanların gelebildiği yerden devam etmek üzere ışığa gönül veren araştırmacılar olarak
geleceğin ışıkta olduğunu ve keşfedilecek daha çok şey olduğunu biliyoruz.
geleceğin anahtarı ışıktır. Işıkla kalalım.
Yeryüzünü aydınlatan ve insanlığın yaşam kaynaklarından biri olan ışığın izini ve etkisini her zaman ve her yerde görmek mümkündür. Aydınlığın ve bilgeliğin simgesi olan bu büyüleyici enerjinin yaşamımızdan hiç eksik olmaması dileğiyle 16 Mayıs Dünya Işık Günü'nü kutluyor. Işık bilimi ve mühendisliğine ilgi duyan tüm sevgili gençlerimizi Fotonik bölümünün Türkiye'de ilk defa kurulduğu İzmir Yüksek Teknoloji Enstitüsü'ne bekliyorum.
Şimdi ise açılış konuşmasını yapmak üzere sözü değerli rektörümüz Profesör Doktor Yusuf Baran'a bırakıyorum.
çok teşekkürler Zeynep. Değerli öğretim üyeleri, çok sevgili öğrencilerimiz, değerli konuklar. Öncelikle hepinizi saygıyla ve sevgiyle selamlıyorum. Üniversitemizin en aktif ve en etkin topluluklarından biri olan ve bizlerin sürekli yüzünü ağartan, gururlandıran Optik ve Fotonik Topluluğumuza ve tabii ki çok değerli danışman hocaları Profesör Doktor Canan Varlıklı'ya Dünya Işık Günü'nde böylesi önemli bir organizasyonu düzenledikleri için gönülden teşekkür ediyorum. Tabii bir büyük teşekkür de bugün bizleri yalnız bırakmayarak açılış konuşmacısı olmak üzere bizlerle beraber olan Gazi Üniversitesi Fotonik Bölümü ve aynı zamanda Fotonik Araştırma ve Uygulama Merkezi'nin müdürü olan değerli hocamız Profesör Doktor Süleyman ÖZÇELİK'e çok teşekkür ederim. Tabii öğrenci topluluklarımızın aktiviteleri dediğim gibi bizi gerçekten gururlandırıyor ve bugün UNESCO tarafından belirlendiği ve aslında konunun önemine dikkat çekmek amacıyla 16 Mayıs Dünya Işık Günü. Ben ışık bilimine, mühendisliğine ve bu alana ilgi duyan tüm disiplinlerden bilim insanlarına ve tabii ki bizlerin meslektaş adayı olan sevgili öğrencilerimizin Işık Günü'nü kutluyorum ve bilimsel çalışmalarında, aktivitelerinde gönülden başarılar ve kolaylıklar diliyorum. Değerli katılımcılar, aslında insanlık tarihinin başından itibaren sürekli zıt kutupların bir çatışması var. Bir yandan iyi ile kötü, bir yandan siyahla beyaz, bir yandan da tabii ki aydınlık ve karanlık. ve ışığı seçtiğiniz anda aslında iyiden, beyazdan ve aydınlıktan yanasınız. Ve hepinizin bildiği gibi ışık bazen bir deniz fenerinin tepesinde olarak yolunu kaybeden kaptanlara, bazen kutup yıldızının aydınlığı olarak dağlarda, taşlarda yolunu kaybetmişlere ve tabii ki aydınlık yolculuğunu devam eden eğitimci insanlar için ise daha çok bilmenin, daha çok öğrenmenin temelini, zeminini, ekosistemini oluşturan aydınlık olarak karşımıza çıkıyor. Biz tabii ki her zaman eğitimden, bilimden, akıldan ve aydınlıktan yana olarak ve Türkiye'de Fotonik bölümünün ilk defa kurulduğu İzmir Yüksek Teknoloji Enstitüsü'nde yönünü, safını ve tarafını eğitimden, bilimden yana tutarak bilimsel çalışmalarımıza devam edeceğiz. Bu kapsamda da ışık bilimi ve mühendisliğine ilgi duyan tüm öğrencilerimizi ve tabii ki lisansüstü öğrencilerimizi İYTE'de bizlerle beraber olmaya ve bu alanda çalışan bilim insanlarını da bizlerle birlikte işbirliği içerisinde Türkiye bilim havzasını güçlendirerek ve Türkiye'nin uluslararası bilim literatürüne daha fazla katkı sunmasını sağlayacak her türlü işbirliğine davet ediyoruz. Tabii ben şu anda Urla'da bir çiftlikten size sesleniyorum. Az önce horozlarımın ötüş sesi de size gelmiş olabilir. Bu da tabii bir doğallık katmıştır umarım. O rahatsızlık için de kusura bakmayın, zamansız bir ötüş oldu ama hepinizin bayramını, geçmiş Ramazan bayramını, Dünya Işık Günü'nü kutluyor. Çalışmalarınızda başarılar diliyorum. Hoşça kalın ve ışıkla kalın diyorum.
Hocam bu değerli konuşma için çok teşekkür ederiz. Gerçekten bizi onurlandırdınız. Şimdi ise bugünün ilk konuşmacısı olan Sayın Profesör Doktor Süleyman ÖZÇELİK hakkında sizlere bilgi vermek istiyorum. Lisans eğitimini Karadeniz Teknik Üniversitesi Fen Edebiyat Fakültesi Fizik bölümünde tamamlayan ÖZÇELİK, 1986 yılında yüksek lisans eğitimini, 1991 yılında doktora eğitimini Gazi Üniversitesi Fen Bilimleri Enstitüsü Fizik Anabilim dalında tamamladı. 1985 yılından itibaren araştırma görevlisi olarak başladığı Gazi Üniversitesi'nde, 1991 yılında yardımcı doçent, 1996 yılında doçent ve 2002 yılında profesör ünvanlarını almıştır. Gazi Üniversitesi Fotonik Araştırma Merkezi'nin kurucusu, 2011 yılından bu yana müdürü olan Doktor ÖZÇELİK, yarı iletken ve fotonik teknolojiler kapsamında yürüttüğü çok sayıda proje sayesinde geliştirilen yenilikçi ürünlerin sanayiye transferiyle sektörün pazarda rekabet gücünü yükseltmek, sanayinin ihtiyacı olan nitelikli insan gücünü artırmaya yönelik çalışmalara önderlik yapmaktadır. Doktor ÖZÇELİK, Gazi Üniversitesi Fen Fakültesi Dekan Yardımcılığı, Fizik Bölümü Başkanlığı görevlerini yapmış, halen aynı üniversitede Uygulamalı Bilimler Fakültesi Fotonik Bölümü kurucu ve bölüm başkanlığını yürütmektedir. Aynı zamanda Fotonik Bilim ve Mühendisliği yüksek lisans ve doktora programlarının ana bilim dalı başkanıdır. ÖZÇELİK ve ekibi Türkiye'nin ilk epitaksiyel kristal büyütme sistemiyle hacimli germanyum ve safir kristallerini büyütme sistemlerini kurdu. Epitaksiyel kristal büyütme sistemi ile ürettikleri hücre yapılarından uydularda kullanılabilecek uluslararası standartlara uygun uzay kalifiye güneş hücrelerini %100 yerli olarak üretmeyi başardılar. Geliştirdikleri germanyum ve safir kristalleri savunma sistemlerinde optik pencere olarak kullanılmaktadır. SCI kapsamlı dergilerde 200'den fazla makalesi, 300'den fazla uluslararası konferans bildirisi bulunan Doktor ÖZÇELİK'in H indeksi 25'tir. Fizik biliminin gelişmesine sağladığı katkı nedeniyle Eylül 2019'da Türk Fizik Derneği onur ödülünü almıştır. Ayrıca bugün İYTE Fotonik Bölüm Başkanı, topluluğumuzun da danışmanı olan Profesör Doktor Canan Varlıklı da bizlerle. Süleyman Hocam, Canan Hocam, ikiniz de hoş geldiniz.
Teşekkür ediyoruz. Sağ olun.
Süleyman Hocam, istediğiniz zaman, rahat hissettiğiniz an başlayabiliriz.
Çok teşekkür ediyorum. Hem takdim için, çok nazik takdiminiz için. Önce konuşmama Sayın Rektör Bey'e güzel sunumları ve fotonik bilimine verdiği önemi de dikkate alarak çok sonsuz teşekkürde bulunmak istiyorum Yusuf Baran hocamıza. Eğer yöneticilerimiz fotonik teknolojilerin, ışık biliminin önemini Yusuf hocamız kadar, en az onun yarısı kadar kavrasa Türkiye'de fotonik teknolojilerin çok ileri düzeye gidebileceğini, fotonik teknolojilerden biraz sonra sunumumuz içerisinde bahsedeceğiz. Neden önem veriyoruz fotonik teknolojilere? Kendisi kutup yıldızından, ışığın aydınlığından ve ışığı seçenlerin aydın olduklarından Ben özellikle o vurucu cümlelerinden dolayı çok teşekkür ediyorum. Çok mutlu oldum. Tabii Canan Hocam uzun yıllardır birlikte farklı platformlarda bir arada olduğumuz, akademik yönüyle her zaman gurur duyduğum, yaptığı çalışmalarıyla Türkiye'de önder araştırmacılar arasında gördüğüm çok kıymetli bir bilim insanı. Benim çok değerli bir arkadaşım. Ona teşekkür ediyorum. Saygı duyduğum araştırmacıların yeganelerinden bir tanesi Canan hocamız ve yetiştirdiği öğrenciler de dünyanın dört bir tarafında kol salıyor, kök salıyor. Bunu da görüyorum. Bugün başkanlık yaptığı fotonik bölümü İzmir Yüksek Teknoloji Enstitüsü'nün hakikaten biz gururla izliyoruz. Siz gençlere teşekkür etmek istiyorum. Ayrıca onun gölgesinde, onun ışığıyla beraber hareket ederek çok aktif çalışmalar içerisinde yer alıyorsunuz. Bu bakımdan da sizleri kutluyorum. Tabii ki bana kıymet verip davet ettiğiniz için de ayrıca sizlere şükranlarımı sunuyorum. Her şeyden evvel tabii ki biz Dünya Işık Günü'nü bahane ederek bir araya geliyoruz. Esasında biliyorsunuz ışıksız bir hayat yok. Hayatın her yerinde ışık var. Acaba karanlık da bir ışık mı? Karanlıktan da ışık çıkarabilir miyiz? Siyahı da ışık olarak kabul edebilir miyiz diye de bir felsefe var. Böyle bir görüş dolanıyor dünyada. Belki siz gençler bunların üzerinde de eğilerek farklı farklı fikirler ortaya çıkaracaksınız. Ve böylece biz geceyi de aydınlık olarak aydınlık haline dönüştürebileceğiz. Bu geceyi aydınlığa dönüştürmek çok felsefi ve ütopik gelse de sevgili gençler bunu düşününüz lütfen. Geceyi aydınlık yapabilmek belki sizlerin sayesinde olacak. Birçok karanlığı sizler aydınlatmış olacaksınız. Biliyorsunuz ki karanlıklar aydınlığa kavuşturuldukça insan huzura kavuşuyor. İnsan beyni huzur buluyor. Sosyal hayat dinamizm kazanıyor. Ben böyle bir giriş yaptıktan sonra aslında sizler için bir sunum da hazırladım. Hem konuşmamı devam ettirmek açısından. Ben bunu biraz evvelki denememizden anlıyorum ki ekranımı paylaşıp sunumuma geçtiğimde beni göremeyeceksiniz. Siz ekranı göreceksiniz. Ama zaman zaman da görülmek için buraya döneceğim. Sizleri de ben görmüş olacağım böylece. Şimdi esasında bugün tabii sizlerle sohbet etmek istiyorum. Gençlerle sohbet etmek istiyorum. Belki bu formal sunumu kısa tutup ondan sonra sizlerle sohbet etmek daha anlamlı olacak. Belki öyle bir formatınız varsa sizlerden soru aldıkça cevaplandırmak. Ben öğrencileri kendi yolumu aydınlatanlar olarak tarif ediyorum gençleri. Esasında bazen şöyle düşünülüyor, hocalar gençlerin yolunu aydınlatıyor. Emin olun ki ben bunu böyle %50 görüyorum. Yani sizler bizim yolumuzu aydınlatıyorsunuz. Biz oradan geçtiğimiz zaman biraz daha berraklaşıyor. Halbuki bizim yolumuzu bulduranlar sizlersiniz. Sizler varsanız biz konuşabiliyoruz. Benim arkamda biraz sonra görselleriyle de göstereceğim bir ekip var. Bu ekip gençlerden oluşuyor. Ve onlar benim yolumu aydınlatmasa, onlar önümde yürümese, onlar arkamda konuşmasa kulağıma benden söz çıkmaz ki. Ya dolayısıyla siz gençler, onun için rahmetli Atatürk gençlere emanet etmiş, gençleri ve çok önemli görmüş. Bunun sebebi yani Cumhuriyet sizin omuzlarınız üzerinde yücelirken esasında oradan da belli ki meşale sizsiniz. Ben böyle en azından düşünüyorum. Şimdi biraz formal sohbetimize döneceğiz. Ben bazen zamanı kaçırabilirim. Bana ne kadar Zeynep süre vermişsiniz konuşmak için?
Hocam 1 saate yakın olması lazım soru-cevap kısmıyla beraber.
Yani bunun biraz zamanı geçti herhalde. 2'ye çeyrek var. 3'e çeyrek kala hepsi bitecek mi bu işin? Ona göre kendimi hazırlayayım.
Hocam.
Böyle bir kusurum var. Yani çok zamanı
Estağfurullah.
kusura bakmayın. Ben şimdi sunumuma geçsem oralarda tabii o sunuma bağlı kalarak konuşmak biraz formal iş oluyor. Tamam.
Sorularını chat kısmından alabiliriz Süleyman Hoca'ya. Aksaklık nedeniyle maalesef sunuma devam edemiyoruz ama soru cevap şeklinde devam edebiliriz hala.
Sayın Hocam, sakınan göze çöp batar gerçekleşti.
Evet.
Ama bu da güzel. Hep söylüyoruz. Sağlığımız yerinde, yüzlerimiz gülüyor. Niyetlerimizde değişen herhangi bir durum yok. Her ne aksaklık, her ne engel çıkarsa çıksın, oluşursa oluşsun. Biz hem Işık Günümüzü kutlayacağız hem de ışık ve teknolojileriyle ilgili araştırmalarımızı yapmaya devam edeceğiz. Süleyman Hocam, konuşmanızın başında zikrettiğiniz, söylediğiniz onurlandırıcı sözleriniz, yüreklendirici sözleriniz için çok teşekkür ediyorum. Gençlere inanç, gençlere güven noktasında sizinle hemfikiriz. Onlar geleceğimiz ve karşılıklı bir şekilde birbirimizin yolunu aydınlatıyoruz. Çoğu zaman verdiğimizden fazlasını bize geri veriyorlar. Bu da yine geleceğe dair bizi umutlandırıyor. Rahmetli dedem hayat ileriye dönüktür derdi. Hayat ileriye dönük. Bizim gelebildiğimiz yerden bayrağı onlar teslim alacaklar ve devam ettirecekler. Ve böylece fotonik bilimi ve teknolojileriyle ilgili gelişmeler ilelebet devam edecek ki zaten 21. yüzyıl fotonik yüzyılı.
Evet. Teşekkür ederim Sayın Hocam. Bu güzel gün tabii ki her ne kadar bazı engellerle, gençlerle çok fazla sohbet edememiş olsak da en azından gençler daha sonra da bize ulaşabilecekler. Ben bugün 16 Mayıs Dünya Işık Günü'nün anısına yeterince söz söylediğimizi düşünüyorum. Ya da yeterince nasıl en azından algılandığını düşünüyorum. Yapacak bir şey yok. Ama mutluyuz. Ama mutluyuz. Doğru.
Lisans öğrencilerimiz sizinle bir röportaj gerçekleştirmişlerdi. Bu röportajın yazılı metni de fotonik.ite.edu.tr sayfamızda, bölümümüzün ana sayfasında ilgili linke tıklamaları şartıyla ulaşabilirler yazılı metnine. Çok kıymetli sorulara verdiğiniz çok güzel yanıtlar vardı orada. Gerek sizin geçmiş fotonikle olan ilişkiniz, gerekse fotonik teknolojilerin geleceğini nasıl gördüğünüz ve gençlere olan tavsiyelerinizle ilgili. Ben o fotonik bilimine ilgi duyan genç araştırmacılarımıza önerilerinizi buradan tekrar bir sözlü olarak sizden alabilirsek, evet yazılı metne ulaşabilirler, oradan okuyabilirler ama o kısmını her ikimiz de çok önemsiyoruz, gençler kısmını. Alabilirsek memnun olurum hocam.
Canan Hocam çok teşekkür ediyorum. Bütün bilimlerde ve özellikle fotonik biliminde gençlerin yapması gereken iki tane temel husus var. Birincisi onlara rehberlik eden, önderlik eden hocalarının dizlerinin dibinden ayrılmamaları ve onların işaretleri doğrultusunda ileriye bakmalarını öneriyorum. İkincisi de çok fazla okumak lazım. Okumak cahili ortadan kaldırır. Öyle bir söz var. Tamamını hatırlamıyorum sözün ama onu biliyoruz. Dolayısıyla sevgili gençler çok okuyunuz. Fotonik teknolojilerde dünya ne yapıyor? Biz sadece dünyanın yaptığını takip etmek durumunda değiliz. Lütfen hayal ediniz. Hayal ettiklerinizi gerçekleştirdiğinizde sizi başkaları takip eder. Sürekli başkalarının yaptığını takip eden değil, onları bilen ama kurduğu hayal dünyasını gerçekleştiren bireyler olmaya yönlenmeniz lazım. Bu son derece önemli. Çünkü hayal özgündür ve kişiye aittir. Siz kendi özgün fikrinizi, yaratıcı düşüncenizi realize ettiğinizde, onu gerçekleştirdiğinizde başkaları sizi takip edecektir. Bu çok önemli. Bunu asla unutmayınız. Belki sizler tabii ki bizi dinleyenler sadece İzmir'den dinlemiyor. Ben tahmin ediyorum ki Türkiye'nin dört bir tarafından ve hatta dünyadan da bizi dinleyen arkadaşlar, bilim insanları, genç öğrenciler olabilir. Dünya çok küçük. Hele Türkiye minnacık. Ankara-İzmir arası kuş bakışı çok yakın. Dolayısıyla şunu asla unutmayınız. Ankara'da büyük olabildiğince bir fotonik araştırma merkezi var. Kapıları ardına kadar size açık. Gezmek için açık, sohbet için açık, araştırma için açık. Buraları çok iyi değerlendiririz. Özellikle üst düzeyindeki öğrencilerin inşallah bu pandemiyi atlattıktan sonra daha rahat olacağız. Ziyaretlerle buralarda neler yapılıyor? Sadece bu maksatla bile ziyaret etmeniz sizlerin ufkunu açacaktır. Kaldı ki biz 2 bölüm olarak lisansüstü programda da işbirliği yapıp sizlerdeki yeteneklerden bizim öğrencilerimizin, bizlerdeki yeteneklerden İYTE öğrencilerinin istifade etmesini sağlayacağız. Belki bunu protokollere dökeceğiz. Yani sizler elinizi kolunuzu sallayarak bizim araştırma merkezimize gelebilmelisiniz. Teşekkür ediyorum Canan Hocam.
Tersi de doğru. Tersi de anlamında yapma hareketi Sayın Hocam.
Biz onu zaten tersinin de doğru olduğunu bildiğimiz için konuşabiliyoruz. Biz de sizlerin Ar-Ge laboratuvarlarına, sizlerin kütüphanelerine, araştırma ünitelerinize, ofislerinize biraz evvel böyle biraz amiyane tabirle elimizi kolumuzu sallayarak gelebileceğimizi düşünüyoruz.
Kesinlikle. Bilmiyorum YouTube kanalından sorular geliyor mu ama ben şunu da yeni fark ettim. Hacı Bektaş-ı Veli'nin bu yıl vefatının 750. yılı imiş ve UNESCO tarafından 2021 yılı tıpkı 2015'te Işık Yılı olarak ilan edildiği gibi 2021 yılı Hacı Bektaş-ı Veli yılı olarak ilan edilmiş. Az önce aydınlık, karanlık, ilim, okuyun gibi laflar ettik. Önerilerde bulunduk. Hacı Bektaş-ı Veli'nin bildiğim bir lafı vardır. İlimden gidilmeyen yolun sonu karanlıktır der.
Evet. Evet.
Onu da paylaşmak istedim ama sanıyorum soru var Zeynep. Sözü sana bırakayım.
Çok teşekkür ederim hocam. Hocam gelen ilk sorumuzla başlayalım. Hocamıza çok teşekkür ediyoruz sunum için. Benim sorum fotonik alanında teknoloji ve bilim gelişmekte olan batılı ülkelerle rekabet anlamında ne durumdayız? ve yapılması gerekenler nelerdir?
Evet. Şimdi tabii nedense bizim gençlerimiz hep rekabet ya da gelişmiş ülke dolayısıyla hep geride hissetme gibi bir psikolojinin içerisine giriyoruz. Burada haksızlıkları yok belki ama bu düşünceden biz sıyrılmamız lazım. Biraz evvel ki sözüm içerisinde dünyanın çok küçük olduğundan bahsettim. Dolayısıyla bizim her türlü teknolojiye ulaşma, teknolojik bilgiye ulaşıp onun üzerine yenilikleri koyma şansına sahibiz. Şimdi Türkiye'de fotonik teknolojiler alanında gelişmiş ülkelerin birçoğunda ulaşılmayı hedefledikleri noktalara bizim araştırmacılarımız ya da sektörümüz gelmiş durumda. Yani kendimizi fotonik teknolojilerde yoksun saymamalıyız. Şimdi biraz daha böyle hani tribüne varan sözler konuşunca daha kolay algılanıyor. Şöyle bakınız, bugün dünyada lazer silahı yapılıyor. Hani gençlerimiz ben silahtan vesaireden çok bahsetmeyi seven bir kişi olmamakla birlikte olayı anlamaları açısından arkadaşlarımızın dile getirmek istiyorum. Dünyada ulaşılan lazer silahının işte gücü 50 kilowatt civarında, işte 100 kilowattı yakalayabilir miyiz diye uğraşılıyor. Arkadaşlarımız bilsinler, biz de o kilowattlarda lazer silahı yapabiliyoruz Türkiye'de. Ya bunu niye söyledim? Biz kendimizi çok aciz görmeyelim. Sevgili arkadaşlar, çalışırsanız, hedef koyarsanız daha güzellerini, daha iyilerini yapma şansına sahip olursunuz. Burada önemli bir görev bizim sektöre düşüyor, üretim sektörüne. Şimdi hedef başkalarının özgün ürünüyle para kazanmak olmamalı. Kendi ürününle para kazanmayı hedeflemeli sektörümüz. Yani işte bugün iletişim kurmaya çalışıyoruz. İşte bu cep telefonunu Türkiye'de kendi milli teknolojiyle üreten olmalı. Ama yani ben konuştuğumun mesajın anlaşıldığını düşünüyorum. Şimdi ülkelerde teknolojinin gelişmesi bir zincir. Bakın Türkiye'de daha fazla savunma sanayinin teknolojiler ileriye doğru gidiyor ki ilk örneği oradan vermek durumunda kaldım. Neden? Çünkü savunma sanayini devlet organize ediyor. Devlet önem veriyor. Devlet önem verdiği için biz işte füzenin kubbesini Gazi Fotonik üretebiliyor. Devletin önem verdiği yerlerde, fotonik teknolojilerde biz dünya ölçeğinde iyi durumdayız. Sosyal hayatta da sağlık ve diğer alanda da fotonik teknolojilerin gelişmesinin lokomotifinin sektör olması gerekiyor. Bugün Gazi Üniversitesi, yani fotonikçiler Türkiye'de Gazi Üniversitesi demenin çok anlamı yok. Türkiye'de fotonikçiler işte termal kameranın çipini yapabiliyor. Termal kameranın germanyum merceğini üretebiliyor. İşte biz onu üretiyoruz. Çipi bir başka arkadaşımız yapıyor. Bakın OLED teknolojisinde Sayın Canan Varlıklı hocamın geliştirmiş olduğu teknolojiyi üretim sektörü alıp ileriye doğru götürebilmeli. Ama dışarıdan aldığını Türkiye satarak daha çok para kazanmayı hedeflememeli. Yani gençler umutsuz olmayınız. Bizlerden daha iyi konuma siz geldiğinizde noktalara gelebileceksiniz. Ben onu görüyorum. Ne zaman gelebileceksiniz? Azminizi yok etmezseniz, düşündüğünüzü, hayal ettiğinizi gerçekleştirmenin yoluna düşer ve bununla dertlenirseniz daha iyi konumlara gelebileceğimizi düşünüyorum. Zeynep.
Çok teşekkür ederim hocam bu değerli cevabınız için. Hocam diğer bir soru da Aslında belki sunumda bahsedecektiniz bundan ama fotonikle ilgili şu an neler üzerine çalışıyorsunuz? Bir de gelecekte planladığınız çalışmalarınız hakkında bilgi verebilir misiniz?
Çok teşekkür ediyorum. Esasında hem sunumumda vardı hem de biraz evvel. Şöyle, biz Gazi Üniversitesi'nde fotonik teknolojilerin birçok alanıyla ilgili projeler yürütüyoruz ve ürünler ortaya koyuyoruz. Bizim bir sloganımız var. Sevgili gençler, Türkiye ürüne dönüşebilir Ar-Ge çalışmaları yapmak lazım. Ürüne dönüşebilir Ar-Ge ne demek? Eğer sizin araştırma, geliştirme bilginize dayalı, özgün fikrinize dayalı ürüne yönelik çalışmalarınız varsa bu size ait olmuş olur. Başkalarının taklidi olmamış olur. Gazi Üniversitesi Fotonik Araştırma Merkezi'nin temel sloganı ürüne dönüşebilir Ar-Ge çalışması yapmak. Peki neler yapıyoruz biz? Biraz evvel söz arasında safir kristal üretiyoruz arkadaşlar. Safir bir fotonik kristal. Şimdi arkadaşlar afişlerine de koymuşlar. Titanyum katkılı safir. Hatta Canan hocam sülaleye yeter dedi. O 15 kilogramlık bir safir, 2 tane titanyum katkılı safir kristali büyütük. Ne işe yarıyor bu? Bundan lazer kristali üretebiliyorsunuz. Yani onu lazer çubuğu yapabiliyorsunuz. Ki biz onu da yapabiliyoruz. Ama bizim asıl safir kristali üretme motivasyonumuz yansılar içerisinde de vardı. Füzenin tepesinde oradaki elektronik malzemeyi koruyucu ve sizin haberleşmenizi sağlayıcı, yani optik olarak geçirgen safir kristalini biz Türkiye'de büyütüyoruz. Bir taraftan da üretiyoruz. Bizim araştırma merkezimizin bazı ürünlerde bir farklılığı var. Biz sadece bir prototipi yapıp bakın biz bunu başardık, alın sanayi bunu üretin demiyoruz. Safir bunlardan bir tanesi. 3 yani 30 santim çapa kadar safir kristal üretebiliyoruz. Bu bütün büyüklüklerdeki füzelerin tepesine kubbe olabilir anlamına geliyor sevgili arkadaşlar. Biz burada ne yapıyoruz? Yüksek optik kabul kalitede, yani içerisinde hava kabarcığı olmayacak, kristal kırılmaları olmayacak, sertliği en yüksek olacak. Bunlar Ar-Ge ile geliştirilebilecek unsurlar. Sonra senede 2 ton safir kristali üretebiliyoruz. Bu ne demektir? Türkiye'de üretilebilecek tüm milli füzelerin kubbesini araştırma merkezimiz üretebiliyor demektir. Yani sadece Ar-Ge değil, Ar-Ge'den üretime geçen süreçte de üniversite araştırmacıları ve araştırma merkezleri işin içerisinde oluyor ki benzer bir ürünümüz de germanyum. Germanyumda fotonik kristal özellikle kızılötesi teknolojide görüntüleme sistemlerinin vazgeçilmez optik penceresidir. Biz onu elektromanyetik girişimi kalkanlayıcı nitelikte geliştirdik. Birkaç tane TÜBİTAK projesi yaptık. Sanayi kuruluşlarımız bize Ar-Ge destekleri verdi. Tıpkı Safir'de verdikleri gibi. Ve biz dünyadan satın alınabilecek germanyum kristalinden daha etkisini, elektromanyetik paraziti engelleyici hale getirdiğimiz germanyumu da senede 1 ton üretebilecek kapasitedeyiz. Bu ilgili çapta Türkiye'de savunma sanayinin ihtiyacının hepsini karşılayabilecek anlamına geliyor. Bakınız burada size bir mesaj veriyor Süleyman Hoca. Diyor ki üniversite araştırma merkezi bir taraftan araştırma yaparken kanun buna imkan veriyor. Bir taraftan da üretim yapabiliyor. Bir şey daha söyleyeyim. Söz belki tamamlanmış olsun. Güncel geliştirdiğimiz teknolojilerden bir tanesi de uzay kalifiye güneş hücresidir. Yani ne demek uzay kalifiye güneş hücresi? uyduda kullanılabilir nitelikte, uyduda kullanılabilir niteliğe haiz uluslararası standartlarda tarif edilen tüm testlerden geçmiş. Ne gibi testler? İşte proton testinden. Hani santimetre kareye saniyede 10 üzeri 15 tane proton düşer ya o uydunun dolaştığı yörüngede. Oradaki bütün testlerden geçmiş, güneş hücresini Gazi Fotonik geliştirdi ve üretti. İnşallah bunlar fırlatılacak uyduya takılacak ve tarihçe kazanacak ülkemiz. Şimdi biz bunu başardık. Gelecekte bununla ilgili hedefimiz ne? Devlete müracaat ettik ve bize endüstriyel üretimde kullanılabilecek bir altyapı kuruyor şu anda. Bu 2021'in sonunda bu altyapıyı da kurduktan sonra biz üretilebilecek milli uyduların güneş hücrelerini geliştirebileceğimiz gibi bunun ihraç potansiyelini düşüneceğiz. Burada bir noktayı ifade etme isem zayıf kalır bu nokta. Biz güneş hücresi üretiyoruz. Önümüzdeki yıl 32 santimetre karelik hücreyi üretmiş olacağız. Peki bunu panel haline getirmek lazım. İşte Gazi Üniversitesi o paneli yapmıyor. Onu da TÜBİTAK Marmara Araştırma Merkezi Malzeme Enstitüsü'ndeki arkadaşlarımız yapıyor. Devlet oraya da destek verdi. Üretim ve cam üretim hattı kuruldu. Şimdi ne oluyor? Gazi Üniversitesi'nde üretilecek olan güneş hücresi orada panele dönüşecek ve uydunun kanadına milli %100 yerli güneş hücresi gelecek. Bir yığın hedefimiz var ama ben bunları anlatırsam bugünkü toplantıyı sabote etmiş olurum. Yani geliştirdiğimiz gaz sensörlerinden, füze erken uyarı sisteminde kullanılabilecek UV dedektörlerden, işlerden istersen Zeynep bu soruyu burada kesmiş olayım. Olur mu kızım?
Tabii hocam. Yani çok teşekkür ederim. Bunları duymak çok gururlandırıcı. Hani son hocam 5 dakikamız. Hocam burada isterseniz gelen bir soru var. Hemen kısaca onun cevabını alalım sizden.
Eyvallah.
Türkiye sanırım biraz kendini tanıtmakta sorun yaşıyor. Mesela güneş enerjisi kolektör üretiminde iyiyiz ancak bir İtalya'nın itirafıdır ki biz sizden alıp marka basıp satıyoruz. Bizde de birçok sektör maalesef böyle. Fotonik alanında marka olmamız için sizce neler yapılmalı diye hocam sorulmuş. Kısaca hemen bunun da cevabını alırsak.
Şimdi değerli arkadaşlar, marka olmak, patenti markaya dönüştürmek özgün ticarette önemli kavramlardan bir tanesidir. Bunun tabii ekonomik kuralları var. Teknolojik kuralların ötesinde ekonomik kurallar var. Belki bir cümleyle noktalı iki cümleyle bu işe şöyle söylemek lazım. Eğer siz özgün ürününüzü yüksek kalitede üretebiliyorsanız kendi markanızı oluşturursunuz. Ben marka nasıl sağlanır uzmanı değilim. Bu çünkü bunu soran arkadaşımız araştırsın. Çok önemli bir konudur markalaşmak. Dünyada sizden başka bu bardağı üreten yoktur. Sadece siz üretiyorsunuz. Ama bunu markalaştırmak farklı bir kavram. Ben araştırmacı olarak şunu söylerim. Yaptığınız işin en iyisini yapın. Sonra markalaştırıcılar bunu markalaştırsın. Bilmiyorum bu cevap yerini bulmuş mudur ama daha farklı şeyler söylemek istemem bu noktada.
Anladım hocam. Çok teşekkür ederiz. Hocam yani bütün teknik aksaklıklara rağmen gerçekten çok güzel bir sohbetti, çok keyifli bir sohbetti. Eminim ki dinleyicilerimiz de benimle aynı fikirde bu konuda. Tekrar sunumunuzun kısmı için ve sohbetiniz için, sorulara verdiğiniz cevaplar için size, Canan Hocam bizi yalnız bırakmadığınız için yine size arka planda arkadaşım, bölümdaşım Umut Baran Gündüz'e ve daha öncesinde de açılış konuşmasıyla bize de destek veren değerli rektörümüze ve video yollayarak desteğini, katkısını sunan tüm fotonikle ilgilenen hocalarımıza çok teşekkür ediyoruz. Şimdi 20 dakikalık bir araya gidiyoruz. Tabii hocam.
Araya
Tabii. Buyurun.
Eminim Süleyman Hocam katılacaktır. Şöyle bir tek cümleyle ifade etsek, bilim ve sanat devlet tarafından finanse edilerek başlar. Sonrasındaki bilimin çıktısı mühendisliğe girdi yapar. Böylece belirleyici teknolojilerde hem sahip hem marka olma şansımız artar.
Eyvallah. Ben tabii herhalde sizi izleyeceğim tabii mutlaka devamında. Çok teşekkür edeyim bir kez daha. Ve dinleyen arkadaşlarımızın da Ankara'da kendi paydaşlarını, Fotonik'i takip etmelerini arzu ediyorum. Çok teşekkür ediyorum herkese.
Sayın Hocam, ikinci ışık ve ışık teknolojileri konferansımız var değil mi? 25-26 Mayıs'ta. Belki buradan onun duyurusunu da ayrıca geçmek faydalı olabilir.
Yani söz bu konuda verdiğiniz için çok teşekkür ediyorum. Tabii yani araya onunla ilgili girmek istemedim. Zeynep kızımız kızabilir diye. Ancak
Estağfurullah hocam.
ben tabii Gazi Üniversitesi'nde her şeyin bir arada çakışmaması için biz de Dünya Işık Günü'ne atıfta bulunarak 28 Mayıs'ta, 26 Mayıs'ta 3 günlük bir konferans düzenliyoruz. Konferansımız Uluslararası ikinci Işık ve Işık Temelli Teknolojiler Konferansı. Neden ikinci? 2018 yılında birincisini yapmıştık bir çalıştay olarak. Ulaşabildiğimiz kadarıyla dünyadaki optik ve fotonik teknolojilerde çalışan, Ar-Ge yapan akademisyenleri davetli konuşmacı olarak 42 davetli konuşmacımız var. Canan Hocam. Biri de bunlardan Sayın Canan Hocam'dır. Davetli konuşmacılarımızdan. 50 küsür de speaker'ımız var. Toplam 100 kişi konuşacak. Ben tüm fotonikçilerin birinci gün sabah 9'dan, üçüncü gün akşam 9.30'a kadar oraya katılmalarını istiyorum. Yani o dünyadaki gelişmeleri, fotonikle ilgili, optikle ilgili gelişmeleri oradan dinlemenizi arzu ediyorum ki İzmir Yüksek Teknoloji Enstitüsü Optik ve Fotonik Topluluğu bizim konferansımızın önemli bir destekçisidir, önemli bir paydaşıdır. Buradaki arkadaşlarımız bize canı gönülden destek sağlıyor. Onlara da buradan şükranlarımı ifade ediyorum. Teşekkür ederim.
Teşekkür ederiz. Bu etkinliğin duyurusuna İstek OPS'in bütün sosyal medya hesaplarından, aynı zamanda birazdan chat kısmında da paylaşacağız. Buradan ulaşabilirsiniz. Zaten ne kadar kapsamlı bir etkinlik olduğunu hocam siz açıkladınız. Gerçekten ben de katılmak için can atıyorum. Merakla bekliyorum konuşmaları.
Çok teşekkür ediyorum.
Şimdi izninizle 20 dakikalık bir araya giriyoruz. Ardından tekrar burada olacağız. Doktor Araceli ile beraber. Tekrardan çok teşekkür ederim Süleyman Hocam.
Sağ olun.
Görüşmek üzere. Welcome all again. Before the Dr. Araceli's speech, we are gonna watch the video with Turkish subtitles version of video prepared by Light Day and TrustScience.org to emphasize the importance of science for us.
Science serves humankind. Science attracts us, intrigues us. It causes us to wonder, to experiment. Science also makes the comforts and connections of our lives possible. May 16th is the International Day of Light. It's a day when we celebrate light and its impact on art, culture, and in particular, science. The science of light makes cleaner energy possible. It gives us access to clean water. It's made it possible for us to stay connected all over our planet. The science of light is helping us to escape this pandemic. It's helping us to explore the stars and worlds beyond our imaginations. Start celebrating and pledge your support of science, which remains reliable and true. Let's all trust science to make tomorrow better. Pledge your support at trust-science.org and start exploring the science of light and celebrate the International Day of Light on May 16th.
I want to introduce Dr. Araceli VENEGAS-GOMEZ briefly. She spent several years working for Airbus in Germany and France as an aerospace engineering before falling in love with quantum mechanics. Then she decided to follow her passion for physics and moved to Scotland to start PhD in quantum simulation at the University of Strathclyde. Following discussions with different quantum stakeholders she had over the last years, Dr. Araceli defined the need of bridge the gap between business and academia, as well as to raise a quantum awareness to the general public. Containing her work on outreach, advocating quantum technologies, she was named the quantum ambassador after winning the Optical Society Milton Rosalind Chang Proviting Fellowship in 2019. Araceli founded her company called Quantum Resources and Careers to create a link between the different stakeholders in the quantum community through a common language and generate a global opportunities with quantum technologies. So her company provides a range of professional service, business development, and solution to the quantum workforce skills bottleneck, the first online platform for quantum training and resourcing to support individuals and business to be part of quantum revolution. Also, today use Oyun, one of the photonics departments of photonics research assistants with us. So, Dr. Araceli, Yağız Hocam, welcome again.
Thank you.
Thank
Dr.
you.
Araceli, you can start whenever you felt comfortable.
Perfect. I'm going to start sharing my screen. Thank you very much for that introduction. You gave such a summary that I don't know what I'm going to talk about now. But I hope that it will be interesting for you. Can you see my screen or not yet?
We can see it now.
Can you see the presentation mode?
Yes, yes. Okay.
Perfect. Okay, so first of all, I want to thank you all for inviting me today to celebrate the Day of Light. I think it's a very good day because it's sunny in Glasgow, which is not happening very often. So we can celebrate light finally, even here. So again, thanks for this opportunity. And I'm going to talk about different things. I'm going to go through my career a little bit more in detail, that you know the things are not just as you planned that they could, that how they could be, and that life is not a straight line. And then I'm going to tell you what I'm doing now and a little bit more advice on career options if you are thinking about quantum in general. Any question that you might have at the end, I hope that I'm able to answer. But yeah, feel free to drop me an email afterwards if we don't have time for the questions. But yeah, I hope that you enjoy the talk. So a little bit more about me, because I know that a lot of people always ask me where I'm from. And sometimes it's like, I'm from Spain, and it's like, oh, where? And people think that Spain is probably just Barcelona and Ibiza sometimes. So no, I'm from Badajoz. I'm from the border with Portugal. So this is where I'm from. And when I was, in high school some time ago, actually a long time ago, and I thought about my career in the future, I was thinking, well, you go to study, you do any kind of studies, and then you go and get a job, and that will be your career. But luckily enough, it's not just like that. You have a lot of options in your life. And what I want to show you is what happened with my career, but also show you that there are a lot of opportunities out there. Just keep your eyes open, just ask around, because you never know what is going to happen, which is actually very, very interesting. So I moved to Madrid to study aerospace engineering. And if you ask me why, well, somebody told me that it was very difficult to study. And I said, well, then maybe it's a challenge. I also thought that maybe I could become an astronaut. As you can see now, I'm not an astronaut. But I didn't know any engineer. And this is something actually that now I realized that it was important. So if you're thinking about doing something with your career, either moving to a specific company or doing a PhD, try to gather as much information as possible, because you need to understand what it means really. In my case, I didn't know what being an engineer mean, because I didn't have any role model in that field. I didn't know what it actually entails to have a job as an engineer. So gather information, just ask around, because that's very, very helpful. Well, then I finished my degree, and there was no pandemic. There was actually money around in Europe or in Spain, and I had a lot of opportunities to go to different places. It was just like I went to Erasmus in Belgium, and then thanks to that, I knew about another opportunity. I was in Austria, I was in UK, I went to US. It was just like, once you start this kind of chain of opportunities, once you start talking to people, you start hearing about another opportunity, and you just keep going on. And this is really interesting, because it's not just the fact that you are enriching yourself with different cultures and you learn about things. It's like you learn more about yourself, and you realize whether, I remember people who were abroad and they were like, I want to come back to my country. I realized that I don't want to be abroad, which is fair enough. For me, it was really like, I want to continue this kind of international journey in my career. As you can see now, it never stopped. But yeah, just again, keeps your eye open for any kind of opportunity, because one can come after the other, and that's going to be your amazing career. And, as an engineer, once all these international opportunities ended, it was time for me to work as an engineer. And when you are an aerospace engineer, what do? You work normally in Airbus or something very similar to Airbus, or a company that works for Airbus. And since I wanted to continue this international path, I moved to Germany, and I worked for 6 years in Germany and in France. And this helicopter that you see here, that was the helicopter I started working with. It's a huge helicopter, it's a military one. And I got different kind of roles during this time in industry. Airbus is a very big company. And when you are in a very big company, you work in a specific department. You have kind of a specific corner of all this puzzle. But I wanted to know how everything works. So I moved from engineering for airframe for this kind of helicopter to more kind of a R&D projects, to more understanding how the company works. And I moved what is called strategic management and resource management, because I wanted to understand how the overview of the company could be managed in terms of research, development, and innovation. And this is something that now, when I look at what I'm doing now, is actually quite similar. It's just that before I was working with helicopters, and now I'm working with quantum. But then you realize with the years that the things that you do actually go in a specific direction. You just need to, follow the different paths to that direction that you are creating. And, I didn't have enough with a full-time job, and in my free time, I wanted to learn more about science and more about physics, normal stuff. So what I did was a master in medical physics. I did this master because he was providing a little bit of mathematics, physics, chemistry, biology, medicine. It was really, really broad, and you could learn about a lot of different things. And I enjoy learning, and I enjoy that. The thing is that once I started to learn more about the part that entails the magnetic resonance imaging, then I touched a little bit of quantum mechanics. I was always interested in quantum mechanics. I even tried to study physics on the side in the past. But it was really that time where I was like, now I'm going to spend more time understanding these. I wanted to understand the mathematics of quantum mechanics. But I didn't have enough time because I was working full time. I was doing this master. So what I did was actually taking holidays for the company to go to conferences and trying to understand more about what being an academic meant, because in my career so far at this point, I didn't know what working in academia or in research meant. So at that time, I started to do that. I don't know if it was the crisis of, turning 30 or what, but what I realized was that I enjoy learning quantum, and that was my next goal. I asked myself, what do I want to do with my career now? And the answer was, I want to learn quantum mechanics. I wanted to do that full time. I wanted to turn my hobby into my career. And I had a very good career in Airbus. I could go up and, be manager and all these things, but I didn't want to do that. I said, I can always come back and continue that path. But right now, what I want to do is this. Of course, one thing is to say, I want to do that. I want to build a farm with a lot of animals, but you need money, you need resources, you need an opportunity. And for me, it took years until I got the chance, thanks to networking again. So networking is really is necessary nowadays for everything. So thanks to connections, I was offered a master's in Glasgow, and I moved to Glasgow. So from Germany to Glasgow in 2015, and I did 1 year master's, and then I did my PhD. So you see, you never know what is going to happen with your life. And, I wanted to catch up with everything because I was new in physics. I was new in academic, and I wanted just to understand how everything works. So I was involved in everything. Outreach activities. I was presenting in all conferences. Now I'm going to stop talking about me. I want to tell you a little bit more about career options in general, very, very general. So I know that here in the audience, there are people who are already in industry, and some others very high profiles in academia, but there are also students. And I always saw students who are struggling, whether they are doing the PhD or even before the PhD, they are like, should I do a PhD or not? Should I do a postdoc or not? And I'm pretty sure that in your inner mind, you know what you want to do. You have defined what you would like to do with your life at the end in your future. But of course, you need to start thinking about the next step. And if you're there just struggling about finishing your PhD and what is the next step for you, I'm just going to give you my 2 cents of differences between academia and industry. And I hope that it might be helpful for you. So again, career plan, forget it about a straight line. It is not. And it's really about the relationship that you build around, that they will guide you to the final career path that you will have. What I always say is, instead of having a long-term goal, I want to be a millionaire, I want to have a Ferrari, I want to be a professor, try to make small steps, small goals in your career. So maybe your next goal is, I want to do a postdoc, or I want to get a job in France. I don't know, whatever is your next goal, just try to do these small steps, because having a long-term career goal is very good to do. And when you go to interviews, they will ask you, what do you want to do in 5 years or in 10 years? So that means, actually, that is also small goals. It's like, okay, you are applying for this job. This is your immediate goal, but what is your plan for the next 5 years, for the next 10 years. So you have to think about this plan. Of course, it's not going to happen like you plan, but it's always good to have this in the back of your mind. Probably you have seen this. It's not to scare you, but it's really the truth in academia in general. This is about STEM. There are very few academic positions. If your goal is to become a professor, there are very few professor academic positions in the world. But it might be that you are already familiar with a university who will know that they will offer you a professorship. It really depends on the country. This is not like it's not the same overall around the world. But it's true, for physics, it's between 10 and 20% possibilities to get a professorship. And again, it depends on the country. It depends on the field as well. Even within physics, it depends whether you're studying optics, photonics, or astrophysics. So it's really characteristic of what you are doing. But these are some facts that this is from a Physics World magazine from 2012. But this is something that I have seen over and over again while being here in Glasgow with the students and in academia. And it's always this path. It's like you are very, very motivated when you start your PhD. Then in the middle of your PhD, you are absolutely like motivation is gone because you feel like you're desperate. Problems with your research always happening. It's normal. It's research. And then over the end, towards when you're writing your thesis and you see the publications there and you see the end, you're again very motivated again with research, and you start. So I have seen people who said, I want to be a researcher. Then in the middle of the PhD said, no way. And then they start thinking again about becoming a researcher at the end. This is happening all over the world. And also what I realize is that there's a big lack of advice in universities about alternative careers. You find things online, but it's sometimes good that sometimes, somebody's coming to your university and is telling you these are other options. Even academics that have a professorship, they have options to support in some of the things. I know that they are doing a lot of stuff already. They are collaborating in magazines. They are going to different conferences, but there are a lot of alternative things that sometimes we are not even aware that they exist. And very, very important is to have a backup plan. If what you think that you want to do in the next years, if this doesn't happen, what is the other option that you could do? What is your backup plan? What if you want to do a postdoc in Germany, and at the end you cannot move to Germany? What is your backup plan? So just think about these options as well, and have a little bit of backup plan in your next steps. If you're doing a PhD and you are wondering whether you want to do a postdoc or not, I think the very easy question for me would be, do you enjoy research and you want to continue doing research? If the answer is yes, then you should do a postdoc. If the answer is like, I'm not sure, no, then I don't think you should do a postdoc, because to be honest, not so many jobs afterwards require that you have a postdoc, because sometimes you are so narrow and so expert in your research that it's hard to find a job in industry. Of course, again, it depends on the job and it depends on the country. But in general, I would say 1 or 2 years postdoc doesn't hurt. So it's not going to close any doors. But more than that, if you don't want to stay in academia, I wouldn't go for it. Some thoughts about difference between academia and industry. When you're in academia, you know that you have a lot of freedom. And if you're doing theory, it's really up to you when you want to work during the day. It really depends on how long it takes to do things. So you're pretty much autonomous. You decide if you want to work over the weekend and do your code over the weekend, you can do it. It's a little bit more restrictive with experiments, but still it's like that. You have a lot of freedom and you can guide yourself. But this also means that you can actually work always, because you can decide to just never stop working. And this is happening with a lot of researchers. I'm sure that you know what I mean. As well, what you do in academia, unless that you do something that is very, very applied, the results of what you are doing are not going to be seen. Like, you're not going to see any specific impact of your research until several years pass. If you're in industry, and I'm not talking if you have your own company, which is completely different, but if you're working for an industry, first of all, you will have a timetable. So probably over the weekend, you are not going to even think about your job. You are not so autonomous. You are not deciding what you're going to do. It's more about providing a value for the company, and you have deadlines. And you can tell me, well, in research, we also have deadlines, but the deadlines in industry are normally much shorter. I was in aerospace, which normally is really long deadlines, but still they are much shorter than in academia. You have to think always that if you need to do something for your customer that has to be ready by Friday it's going to be sent to the customer. And maybe it's not going to be 100% perfect, but it's going to be sent to them. Whereas in academia, if you're writing a paper and you said the deadline for the paper is Friday, probably you have a version of the paper on Friday, but then next week you are going to do another version of the paper because you want it to be perfect. This is something very, very important that I realized, and a lot of people who move from academia to industry realize after. So if you are a perfectionist, probably academia is the worst path for you. The impact that you do, again, depending on the research, but in industry is more immediate because you will see what you do. If you have some deadlines and you have to provide something for the customer, you're going to see the result very, very in shorter time, let's say, not maybe in a very short time. It depends on what you do, but in a shorter time frame than in academia. And in academia, you always need to get funding to be able to continue with your research. In industry, people say that you get a better salary, and here I don't agree because it depends again on the job and on the country. For example, postdocs in UK, they get a very decent salary. The same in Germany. So it's really, again, it depends. But in general, in industry, you have your salary and you don't need to take care of, to struggle getting any additional funding. And what I told you before about this freedom is the fact that you say, oh, I'm free, I can go home. And this probably, if you are a professor or a researcher, after several times, you know what I'm talking about. You are in the university, you have your lessons, then you go home. And then it's when you say, finally, I can work on research. Finally, I can check my emails. So yeah, this is the pro and the con of living in academia. And well, this is a joke a little bit, but apparently, if all what you care is about the money, you should be a football coach and go to US because that's where you get the highest salary. I have no idea. I'm not so much into football anyway. But here I want you to, if you can, to make a screenshot or whatever. This is a post with, I think, 28 different career paths for people with a physics degree, doing completely different things. And they explain to you what it looks like one day in their jobs, completely different kind of jobs, data science or working in publishing. And I think it gives a very nice overview of different career paths for anyone with a degree in physics. Okay, so to finish with this kind of general small talk about career paths, I want you to think about what you like to do, what you love doing, whether it's staying in the lab or doing outreach or coding or whatever you really enjoy, what you really love to do, and that you know that you are good at. Because everybody knows where, I had to do a lot of coding during my PhD. I was not enjoying it. It was not like, oh, great, I need to code. It's not the thing that I love the most. And I also realized that I'm not super good at it. You get to know yourself. You need to understand what you're good at it, whether you can get paid for that, because you can be very good at painting and you like to do that, but maybe nobody's gonna buy your paints. So it's really thinking about all these kind of different bubbles that you see here and finding your purpose. That is the P in the middle. So I really hope that this kind of gave you this general advice on careers. And now we are gonna go a little bit more again on my career plan and what happened when I moved to Glasgow. I told you that I wanted to just be involved in as many things as possible, and here this event today is organized by I think an OSA chapter, and maybe you are also part of other organizations. I was part of the chapter, the student chapter from Strathclyde University. I was outreach officer, and then I became the president. And I can tell you that thanks to those activities, my career is where it is now. Because I was just getting involved in outreach activities everywhere. I was going to a lot of conferences. It was just getting to know people and getting to just saying, you don't need to say yes to everything, very important. But if you have the opportunity to, participate in an OSA conference, here on the top left, you have the IONS from Paris. That was 2017. Then you have the leadership conference in Washington. These kind of events, now they are virtual. I know that it's not the same, but still just try to get involved because you will meet people. And now all these virtual platforms, they offer the opportunity to network as well. So just try to get involved in as many things as possible, trying to get to academic conferences to know who could be as well possible later on collaborators or your postdoc advisors when you want to move in your career, and just try to make your footprint and learn how the ecosystem works. So yes, I was doing a lot of this, and I was trying to understand the quantum technologies ecosystem. And now I'm going to speak a little bit more about this quantum technologies ecosystem. Because for me, coming from industry to academia, it was quite interesting to see how something new was starting to be created, that it was like taking the research from the fundamental science from the academia, trying to develop into a new market, a new business, but at the same time, everybody was trying to understand why it was so important, but it was not so easy to do. Because when we talk about quantum technologies, the word quantum is something that, if you think about general public or government, there are two reactions. Either they think, oh, that sounds too difficult, too nerdy. No, I cannot understand that. Or, wow, I'm fascinated. And then they tell you things about something that has to do with nuclear energy or relativity. It's nothing to do really with quantum. So then you realize that a lot of people don't understand what quantum is. Not going into details into the mathematics of anything, but just what is quantum? What does it mean when we talk about quantum mechanics? So this is outreach, really. Is trying to create a common language for anyone who is in front of you and trying to understand what you are doing in very simple words. So that's why I was really interested in outreach and trying to understand who was doing what in this new ecosystem. And when we are talking about quantum technology, we need to be really, really honest. It's not something new because quantum technology has been there for years and years. We have transistors everywhere. We have lasers everywhere. We have GPS. We have magnetic resonance imaging that I mentioned before. So quantum technology is already there. A lot of things that we use every day is based on quantum mechanics. But so far, all what we see here is based on a lot of particles together. So if you think about the transistor, we have a lot of electrons. If you think about the laser, you have a lot of photons. So what is the difference now? Why there is a new ecosystem, a new market that is emerging? Well, it's because we are now thinking about the applications of the fundamental research that has been done in the last decades. That means that we are able to control matter at a single level, at the single particle level. So instead of having a lot of photons, now we take one photon. Instead of having a lot of electrons or a lot of atoms, we take one. We control them, and then we create technology based on that. And this is what people call the second quantum revolution, or quantum 2.0. This is all the fuss and all the hype that everybody is talking about quantum, and it's the fact that we are creating new technology based in this new control that it was achieved in the last decades in fundamental science. You probably are familiar with different kind of quantum technology. I just want to say that quantum technologies is not just quantum computing. There is quantum communication, we have simulation and imaging and sensors. I'm not going to go into detail about the technology itself. And if you want to learn more, I'm happy to tell you more about it. But the important thing is all these kind of technologies are going to have an impact in different business sectors. We know that the future is quantum because we are now entering this new revolution that is going to change our society. So we are pretty much in a new revolution where all these new emerging technologies, quantum, AI, 5G, IoT, all this is going to impact our society. And in the next, I would say 10, 20, 30 years, our world probably is going to look completely different than now. That's why it's so important to be part of it, because we are at the beginning of this new adventure, of this new ecosystem. And if you're part of this, you are going to see how this is going to grow and how society is going to be impacted over the next years. And this is a very interesting roadmap because this is from UK in 2014. And what is actually important to say here is that we are not so far from this. So we haven't changed much in the last 6 to 7 years. And it's because, developing new technology takes time. It's not something like, I'm going to create a quantum computer in the next 5 years. I promise my customer that it's going to be there. No, we are really early in the development. We are still doing research that needs to be developed to create new technology. But we're part of it, and there are technologies that are already available. So it's not everything coming in the next 10 to 20 years. There are already things that are commercially available. So it really depends on a lot on the technology itself and the product itself. So now a little bit an overview of what is happening around the world. This is the latest global effort estimation that we did. So this is from January 2021. Here I want to be clear. This is all public funding, so this is money from the government. And the first message here is governments are very interested in it because otherwise they wouldn't be putting money on it, which means that something important is going on. They see the value of this new technology. And the other thing is that you see that it's happening in a lot of places around the world. It's not just two countries, in a race against each other. It's really a lot of different countries putting money on it. And this is really, really exciting. So a little bit of history. United Kingdom developed the quantum technology program starting 2013, 2014. Now we are in the second phase. At the same time, Canada and Singapore had already, for the last 10 years, they had their own specific institutes focused on quantum technologies, on research. In 2018 was the launch of the quantum flagship in Europe, as well as the US National Quantum Initiative in the US. And then it has been more and more countries over Europe and in other countries in Asia and around the world putting money on quantum technologies. So that's also important to see is that there is a common interest around the world. And if you're looking for jobs around the world, well, there are a lot of options. And this is what I wanted to show you next. If we think about quantum companies, and it means just quantum startups and quantum companies that have been developed thanks to this new market that is emerging. We see that is everywhere, which is really, really interesting because, again, it means that all continents have at least one startup and that they are developing more and more education, training programs. There is a lot going on in the world. And here, if you want to have a little bit more focus on different countries, you see that even in Turkey, there are some startups in quantum technologies. Yes, US is where the largest number of startups is at the moment, but followed by UK and Canada. But then we have a lot of countries all over the world with at least one quantum startup, which is, again, very interesting. If we think about the sectors, I told you before that we have different technologies, but it's not the same, the technologies itself, but the sectors where you could work. So you have companies that are focused on the software for quantum computing. Some others are focused on the hardware for quantum computing. Some others provide both. Some others work on sensing or consulting services. And this part here, enabled technologies, I think is really an ever-growing part of it, because we are talking about laser companies, cryogenics, vacuum systems, all this kind of technology that enables that quantum technology can be developed. And I think it's very, very important to know that if you're interested in working in the field, it doesn't mean that you have to go to a quantum startup per se. You could work in a laser company that is 20 years, 30 years old, but now they have a kind of a sub-department working in quantum. So there are a lot of possibilities. And well, you know that in the media, there is a lot now about quantum. You can see a lot of things that are more or less true. But what is this hype? This movement that a lot of people are talking about now, which is making the field richer and richer. And I told you before that now, coming back to what I'm doing myself in my career, I wanted to understand all this where I show you the who is doing what, which country is putting how much money. I tried to understand all this while I was doing my PhD, because I was used to have this kind of overview when I was in the company before, and I wanted to have this kind of overview again in this emerging field that is quantum technologies. So I was part of going to the launch of the flagship, as well when the event happened in the US. So I was really lucky that I could go to all these places, thanks not only to a very supportive supervisor, but also thanks to grants that I apply in OSA or SPIE. So always have a look at opportunities, because there are really a lot of options there. So what happened is I realized how different was the mindset between the people doing the research and the people expecting to use the research. So the people in academia and the people in the industry. And at the same time, there were a lot of academics that they were becoming, suddenly they were in a business because they were creating a company, but they didn't have the business mindset. So there was really such a gap between the fundamental science and trying to have something that is commercially available, thinking about customers and about business, that I was like, we need to do something here. This is not new. This is happening in all emerging technologies, but quantum again is different. Quantum is different because everybody, you mentioned quantum, you have this kind of weird reaction. So I tried to understand who was doing what. I was asking, what do you think is needed to close this gap? And thanks to that, I went with these ideas, like I want to build something to create the gap between the academia and industry, to create a common language for everyone, to make quantum easier and understandable for anyone who wants to jump into quantum, to have really the vision of the business in quantum, and trying to put all these things together, which is not easy. But I applied for this fellowship from the Optical Society, and thanks to that was in 2018. I applied in 2019. They gave me they awarded me the fellowship. I created the company in 2019 thanks to this. So the aim is always the same. I wanted to do always the same, but that was really the means that allowed me to be able to do it. And I literally went around the world talking to people about quantum and trying to understand what it was needed. And I'm so glad that this could happen just before the pandemic. It was September, October 2019. So it was really, really a fantastic opportunity for me to be able to understand the quantum ecosystem. And that's how my next step in my career was to become a founder and CEO that I wouldn't ever had imagined before. But here I am. And now I will tell you a little bit more about the company. So again, Cureka Quantum Resources and Careers focus on this common language to understand quantum, to make everyone ready for quantum, and to create value, to create an impact, and to think about a business around quantum. And you see that I have these careers in the title, and I told you I talk a lot about my career change, because I wanted to support people who wanted to make a career change into quantum. I wanted to help them the way that I did it in the past. So a little bit more about what we offer. We offer different professional services. We work with quantum startups all over the world in terms of business development. We work with end users, so big companies trying to explain to them what quantum means and build a strategy for them to be part of quantum. And then we really focus on skills. We have an e-learning platform for training. We provide online training as well as personal training, and we try to develop quantum careers. So we really focus on resourcing by understanding who is the person, what are the skills of the person, and how these skills can be applied in the community. So what we do is we try to provide the training to the individual or to the company that is needed to get into the next step, which will be for an individual getting a job into a quantum company, for a company getting, let's say, this quantum department, quantum team within their staff, their company. So we are trying to build this quantum workforce by developing quantum leaders, by focusing on understanding where we start and where we want to go. And we work with individuals from completely different backgrounds from all over the world and trying to understand what is the job they are looking for. And then we work with companies, again, that are looking for specific training and that they are looking to hire specific candidates. What we have as unique selling proposition is the network. So, as I said, I have been involved in this for several years. I understand pretty well who is doing what, and I was in both in business and in academia, and I have a team of people with different expertise who can support this. So yeah, it's very, very interesting and very exciting. And you know, in the last years, like if we think about 2018, 2019, people were talking about quantum national initiatives, about the money from the government, but it's really now the quantum workforce and education and the problem to find people with the right skills is happening. It is everywhere. You hear it more and more in all quantum conferences, and we try to understand really how this could be kind of evaluated. So we try to do a research into the quantum workforce, and for that we estimate. So we have a lot of estimation all around the world. People who have been estimating how the market is going to grow. So we took the market for quantum technologies and we estimated how many jobs are going to be created around the world. And you see that it's going to be steady growing up. And then in the next 20 years, it's when we are going to see this kind of exponential growth where we are going to have really a lot of new jobs created once we have quantum computers and when we have really a new society based on this technology. And this means two things. One is there are more and more jobs that need to be filled. And the other one is we need to train the people who in 20 years are going to look for jobs. And these people, sometimes we're talking about people who are in primary school or high school at the moment. So then you understand how outreach as well is very, very important, and how the general public should be aware of all this, because if the general public is aware, it means that people talk to other people, that teachers understand that quantum is coming, and then we can have more and more kind of the ball rolling to create this new quantum workforce from very young age. So if we think about education, there are different activities that we could do. If we think about primary or high school, it's more about outreach, involving the teachers. There are a lot of different kind of schemes and societies around the world trying to activities focusing on quantum education at the moment. So it's really, really interesting, and see how this is growing. There are more and more master programs for quantum technologies. And of course, there are a lot of PhDs and CDTs. And CDT means more PhDs that are like working together with a quantum company. So it's more applied, and students get a little bit more information about what it is to work in industry while doing the PhD, which I think is a very interesting scheme as well. Yes, to tell you that as Curega in our company, we really focus more in the last part of teaching quantum technologies. So, but we also kind of are involved in outreach, and we try to do a lot of different activities, be involved in what is going on, and see how we can support each other in the community. And one question is, well, yeah, you're talking about a lot of jobs being created, but are actually companies being recruiting at the moment? And the answer is yes. Now, it doesn't mean that anyone with a PhD in physics, and now when I say physics, it could be optics, photonics, it could be even in engineering, electronics engineering. It doesn't mean that everybody's going to get a job into a quantum company right away. Because if you remember, when I mentioned before, we are still very early in the development of the technology. So still we are focusing on very specific skills. So either we have people with those skills that can be fit in the jobs, or we try to create this scheme program focus on skills and competencies to develop people who can fit into these jobs. But I'm going to talk a little bit more about that now. Just 1 second. So you can ask me, who are these companies? And this is just, a bunch of quantum companies for you to think of. But there, as I showed before, there are jobs available in a lot of different companies around the world. But just for you that you have a grasp of some companies who are looking to hire at the moment. Now, I mentioned the different technology and the different sectors. If we think about what are the activities of these companies, they focus in these kind of technologies that I mentioned before. They can be focused on sensors or in quantum communication, in hardware, in algorithms, or they could be enabled technologies that I mentioned like lasers and so on. So what are the skills that people are looking for in industry at the moment? These are some of these skills, and have a look at it and tell me if you're looking for a job or if you're thinking about moving into industry. What is the first kind of information that you get from these skills? It's actually the fact that it's not saying you need a PhD in physics. It's not even telling you that you need to have a physics degree. It's telling you that you need these technical skills that could be because you are a chemist or an engineer or a computer scientist. These skills are really wide and they can be applied in, they come from across different kind of fields. But what is important is that depending on the job itself, sometimes an electronics engineer can be more desired as a profile than a person with a PhD in quantum, because they need someone who is able to do the electronics in the lab, and they don't want a person who has a PhD that is really focused on the technology. And this, I see it over and over again. It's changing, but so the good thing is that most of the roles so far are asking for a person with a PhD in physics in general, with a PhD in something that is very, very close to what they are doing into the development that they are doing for the device or for any product that they are developing. But take this into account. So there are more and more other technical skills that are desired and that you can maybe acquire by doing other activities, for example. And here it comes this new role, this new field that is quantum engineering that people are trying to create. That is an engineering role with the notions of quantum mechanics. And this doesn't mean that it's a person who has been written 10 papers on foundations of quantum mechanics. It's not. It's really about a person that is either that has some coding skills, engineering skills, or experimental skills in quantum that can apply this as an engineer. So it's a shift of the field that is very interesting. And I guess in some years, quantum engineering is going to be, as now computer scientist is everywhere. It's a new field, a new degree that is appearing. Very important is not only the technical skills are needed, it's about the soft skills. So you need to show in your CV, you need to show that if you have any kind of research degree, problem solving is something that you can add as your skills in your CV, because that's what you have been doing. You need to show that you're able to work in a team. if you can show that you know a little bit about business, that you know, if you can do an internship somewhere, even if it's 2 weeks, doing some job for free for industry, this is very, very important in your CV. And of course, any kind of communication, any outreach activity, the activity today, all the people, all the organizers, this is something to be added on soft skills. And this is something that is going to show much important in your CV in comparison with just an academic profile. So just a little bit more, what are the important skills for your career? And at the end, it's the soft skills. It's not really the technical ones. It's being able to talk to other people, being able to coach, being able to learn, being able to manage your stress and your time. And I see these to some of the people in my team. They are people from academia, and they are telling me that they struggle with team management, because before it was more about this making the things perfect, not taking too much in the importance of, you know, spending time on it didn't matter. It was about having it perfect. And now it's more, no, it has to be done for tomorrow. I don't want it 100% perfect. It's good enough to be sent to the customer. So think about how these skills can be developed for you and for your career. And as well, not only technical positions, a lot of quantum companies now are looking for sales people, for marketing, product management. And one thing that I have seen that I thought it was very interesting is people who, so they are looking for scientists who are able to sell, so to sell the product. And when I talk to a lot of scientists, they are like, it's a very interesting role, but I want to do science, I want to do research, and I don't want to talk to customers. So if you know of people, or if you think that you could be this kind of person who can develop research skills at the same time that can develop business skills, that will be the correct path for the future in any kind of emerging market. Yeah, again, remember, think about your next goal. It's not going to be a straight line, but just think about what is the next goal for you and how you want to achieve that. Where do you want to go? And just the final kind of conclusion of how you can achieve your goal is think about the starting point. What is your starting point? What is your background? What is your experience and your studies? You have studied things, you have done things. How can you put this together to understand how to go to the next step in your career? So this is not a race, it's really doing a marathon, you know, doing your career is about drawing your career path. And think about your skills. Here there is a bunch of skills that you can put, and I'm sure you have if you are an academic. So very, very important. Think about how you can sell these skills when you go to a job interview, either in academia or in industry. And identify the next goal. As I said before, what do you want to do? You can say, well, I want to learn more. I wanted to learn more about quantum, but you are looking for a PhD or you are looking for a role in industry. Identify that goal. And it's not easy because sometimes, and I remember somebody who sent me, who was looking for a job, and the guy sent me the CV, and I said, okay, well, what are you looking for? And he's like, I'm interested in this and that. He put like a list of 5 different things that had nothing to do with each other. And I said, the first thing is try to narrow your goals. It could be, I don't know if I want to do a postdoc or a role in industry, and you are open to both, but at least you should know the field. You should know what kind of roles you're looking for. So try to identify that goal. And then ask me. We at Cureka, we are talking to individuals every week who are looking for different career changes or jobs, either in academia or in industry. And we can just send you links of other resources, but we can just put you in touch with somebody else. So yeah, we are here for that. So don't hesitate to ask us, and we hope that we can support you on your next career goal. And once you identify your career goal, it's really about how you move forward, what is needed, and try to make a plan. You don't need to make an action plan of 10 points and it's like, oh my God, I have this point and I haven't done it. It's not so detailed. It's just to have an idea what is needed. in my CV, I haven't put anything about working in a team or doing communication. Maybe you can do some outreach and you can show it as the communication skills, things like this. And then really is achieving your goals. Well, I'm sure that you can do is trying just to move across this ladder one step at a time. And as I told you, it took years for me to move from industry to academia. But I have seen people that get, an opportunity in a very short time frame. So you never know. And then to close a little bit more about how Kureka website and what we do looks like. So if you come to the website, this is what you will see. And there's a lot of information there. There are a lot of different resources and services. And I'm going to tell you a little bit more of what we have. So the first thing, as I mentioned before, on education, we have online courses. We also offer tailored packages for companies who are working in specific sectors. So we want to narrow to that business sector what we have in our training. We do a lot of webinars and a lot of workshops, and we try to bring people together. We have a lot of information in our website, so you have a lot of information for free. You can access our events calendar. You need to register in the platform, but you don't need to pay anything. You register and then you have access to the events calendar and a lot of different kind of information. We provide recruitment. So if you're looking for a job or if you're a quantum company looking to recruit, we provide recruitment as a service, but we also have tutorials about how to improve your CV, for example. And we also have career events, and I tell you about that later. We try to build communities. So today I'm talking to people in Turkey, which I think is very, very interesting for me. So I'm trying to bring the message across everywhere and trying to see how I can connect people from different regions or different technologies. About the courses, we are CPD certified. This means continuous professional development. So you get credits that you can always use in your career as continuous professional development credits. Again, we focus on business sectors, but we try to create courses that are at different levels. So we have one that is introductory, that is called Quantum for Everyone. And now we are focusing in different sectors and in different languages. We are going to have courses in Portuguese, in Spanish, in Japanese. So if somebody's interested in developing a course in Turkish, I will be really interested to hear about. We just developed our package for quantum computing applications in finance, where we have one course that is about finance and another one that is about quantum algorithms for finance. So anyone who is interested in applying quantum computing algorithms for financial applications is welcome to take these courses. And as I said, we have a lot of resources. If you are looking for a master or a PhD in the world, all resources there, you have a lot of links for free in our website. Or if you know of another place or website that is not there, just send me an email and I add it. This is about the calendar that I mentioned before. We try to put all the different quantum events that are happening now virtually, but yeah, so that you don't miss the things happening around the world. This is our next Career in Quantum Technologies Fair. It's going to be in June. It's going to be, of course, for free for anyone who is looking for a job in quantum. There will be companies from all over the world looking to hire. So if you are interested in if you're looking for opportunities or a job in quantum, please come to this event. We had a first event last year. It was focused on the UK, and this one is going to be global. We work with the Quantum Daily to do this. It's going to be a big, big event, and it's a great opportunity because you have really the chance to sit down with a company and ask them, well, I did this in my research. Do you think that this could be applied in what are you looking for? What are the jobs openings that you have? And you will hear as well of people who are working in these companies who changed their career. So you learn about a lot about it. And we are going to open the registration next week, but you can just send me an email if you want, and I keep you in the loop of and send you the link once it's open. And I think that's all. I don't know for how long I have been talking, probably a lot. But the only thing I want to say is that everything will be fine. You will succeed. It's not going to be a straight line, but just follow the quantum light and everything will be okay. Thank you very much.
Dr. Araceli, thank you for such a nice and informative presentation. So it was very enjoyable for me, and I'm sure all the listeners agree with me. So before we have a very few minutes left, but maybe Yavuz Hocam, you want to say something or ask something to Dr. Araceli?
Yes. First of all, thank you for the beautiful talk, Dr. Araceli. You're doing a great work on joining two different worlds of academia and industry. And I wanted to ask about, let's say a PhD student just contacted you. What kind of process does he or she go through when they apply to you, they contact you?
Perfect. Thank you. Thanks again to both of you. So I think the first thing that I say or that I ask is send me your CV, because sometimes their CVs are terrible. So the first thing that I do is trying to tell them some tips, and all this is for free. I just tell them how to improve their CVs, and it's really analyzing. So it's just sitting with them, even if it's just 10 minutes, and understanding what they are looking for, and then giving them links or tips on improving CV, or thinking, where do you want to go in terms of countries? Sometimes it's not easy for a lot of people in Asia that they want to move to Europe right now, and it's not easy because of the situation. So any kind of question that for anyone who is looking for a job is fine. It's like I'm here to help, and I have been doing this for several years now, and it's just trying to understand what are the skills that you have now, what do you want to do, and how to move there. And again, it could be that something happens in 1 year. It might be that you need 5 to achieve that goal, but it's trying to create that path together.
And also maybe a follow-up question to that. I thought about the situation you described between the different career paths and different difficulties, including both industry and academia regarding, for instance, quantum industry. So I believe a lot of people are trying to transition from academia to industry because all the reasons you listed, and the topmost reason I believe it is economic problems, including the salary options. But I was wondering if anyone are trying to transition from industry to academia have contacted you.
That's a very good question. So no, directly. I was the only crazy person to do it. No, what I have seen is people who maybe they are working and they're thinking about doing a master's or something at the same time that they work. But nobody really changing completely is coming to my mind. But it's possible. Again, I did it, but it's not easy, and it's getting less and less easier if you have more and more experience in industry. But if people are working in industry and they have nothing to do with academia, they don't know how it works. It's really like this. I had no idea what research. I never went to a conference with academics talking about the research, and it was a learning path, let's say, for me as well. So yeah, it's more the other way around. But people are scared. Sometimes people are not aware that they can do it. They think, I have been doing a PhD or a postdoc, and then there's nothing else that I can do, and that's not true, because all your skills can be applied in so many places. When I was in Airbus, there were so many physicists who were working at Airbus, and they were doing things in completely different fields, and then they work for Airbus. So you can always apply what you have done. It's just like, if you really enjoy what you are doing and you want to keep that track, then of course you need to continue. And this is an opportunity to be part of industry at the same time that you keep this kind of a narrow path in the field.
Yes, you are correct. And also, I believe that maybe it should be said that we need to make, as a community, as a whole, we need to make the academia more attractive so that it can compete with the industry. Because we need qualified people as well in the academy, as well as in the industry.
Yeah, more collaboration, more understanding from both sides that both sides are needed. More from the academics to understand that not all research is going to be done for the next 30 years, but things can be done to be applied very soon. And also from industry to work with researchers to develop new things. So yeah, it's a lot to be done there.
Yes. Lastly, I really want to thank you for introducing us with Kurika. I believe you are doing a really great work. And in this important day of light, and you talked about a great deal about the developing quantum industry. And thank you again for joining us.
Thank you again for the opportunity. And yeah, have a very nice day of light. And yeah, I wish you the best.
Maybe we will have some questions. Zeynep, do we have some questions from the audience?
Actually, we have time limits, and because of that, we can't get a lot of questions. But I want to ask something. I think it's too general, and everybody curious about it. In my situation, I'm very beginning at this path, so I'm undergraduate student, and I'm at the first class. So, do you have any advice for me to do something to improve myself? And I don't know, do you say something?
You are doing physics?
I'm actually photonics, Department of Photonics.
Yeah, I think try to get involved in as many things as possible. Like what you're doing today is fantastic. Try to do outreach activities. If you can do an internship with a company, or understanding how companies are developing things in photonics, even these enabled technologies that I was mentioning before is about photonics companies, lasers and all the photonics devices, trying to understand who is doing what in business as well. And if you can do any course, or even if it's just attending some talks about business, try to do it, because it's really something that I see that is missing with a lot of people. Afterwards, they go straight, they do all the bachelor, master, PhD, postdoc, and then it's like, I haven't even done a CV for a company, and I'm like 35. This happens all the time, but it's really, if you can try to improve your soft skills as soon as possible, this is I think the best advice that I could give you.
Thanks so much. Thanks so much. And I want to thank you about all of the presentation and the answers, and also to Yavuz Hocam for joining us, and Umut, who manages entire technical area in the background. And last of all, I want to thank all viewers who not leave us alone on this important day. So thank you very much for all. And our final, I think, words are, may the light always be with you.
Thank you.
Thanks so much, Dr. Sally.